Hi, it's Jamie with Jamie's Arts a la Cartes. Thank you very much for joining me. I have a fun project planned for us today. I hope this video inspires you to create something of your own. If you would, hit the like button and share the video with your friends. That helps me to grow this channel and to continue to bring you new projects. If you haven't subscribed yet, would you please consider subscribing? And if you have, thank you very much. Well, we have a lot to do, so let's get to it. Hi, it's Jamie with Jamie's Arts a la Cartes. I have another project for us that will go with our community effort that'll happen towards November, right? But we're going to do it ahead of time. So what I'm trying to create is a little fabric wreath, and I'm just using leftovers, and so I'm going to use, this is like leftover from a Santa beard. I'm going to turn it into a little bow and put it up here, and then use some of our gold thread to create a hanger. So that's how those will finish out. So they're quite cute to make. So what I did is I was told to like use the size of like the bottom of a water bottle. Well, I found this that I could use as a template. I took some of my old cottage cheese containers, drew a circle on there, and then cut it out. That's all that was. And then what I did is I used some of my just fabric I had on hand. I started cutting circles, and a lot of it looked like this, right? It was kind of wrinkly. So I just took my good old little mini here and just ironed it out, right? I'm not trying to get it perfect, but just where it'll kind of lay. Because what I want to do is be able to draw circles on the fabric, and I'm doing it on the back side. And again, I'm just using scraps, so I just draw the circles on there. So something like, well, depending on where I put my pen, let me go get my pen. And I just take a regular old ballpoint pen, and I put it in the far corner, right? Because I'm going to try to get as many of these as I can. And the pattern is throughout, so it goes all different kind of directions. So that's kind of nice. You'll be able to see that in the little circles. And it didn't catch the top, so just put it back on there. Should have got my pen going. Here it goes. So there's my circle to cut out, right? The darker the background, a little bit harder to see, right? But it still works. And I should have started that in, but let's see, let's go. I'm going to come up here, and I'm just going to, like if you were cutting biscuits, I'm just going to try to get as many as possible. So I can't re-knead this and go again. So that's pretty simple to do, right? See if I'll have to undo any of those stitches. I really am just working around stuff because I want a variety so that they all just look similar but different. Well, we'll just come right down here. Again, this is just fabric out of my stash. And I take my handy dandy scissors, and I'm cutting just a smidge, maybe like this, maybe an 1/8, 1/16 of an inch outside that line. Sometimes when they get close, it's a little bit closer, but I'm doing that because when you sew, that gives me just a little bit of room so it doesn't fray. So I've been cutting for a while, y'all. It's a fun project, but it does take just a little bit of time, but it should be fun to give to children. And then I've got just stacks of my colors. So I have some white, some green, some red, and then I take about 15 of these little circles to make a wreath, and then I try to spread out the colors, right? I even used like some of these were the directions on like how to sew a bear, right, on that fabric, like if it was a kit. I even took those, see? Right? Because I thought, oh, that would be interesting, right? Something different. And I kind of like that idea. So I'm just going to keep cutting out. Right, I'm just going to cut out. See how that one touches? I'm just going to go right on the line. That's okay. And then I just trim it off. And I'm actually throwing stuff away, y'all. There you go. Oh, I get to throw that away. So then, when you have all your circles cut out, you're going to want to sew a little, almost like those little pennies that folks used to make quilts, right? So I just make a super loose little single knot there. I'm going to come in and just make a somewhat small little stitch there, because what I do is then I take this, pull it, but not all the way, because I want to catch that loop, because I'm going to create a knot so that my string doesn't pull through. And now I can make this is a running stitch, so that just means in and out, in and out, in and out. And I can do it quite big, actually. And see, I'm staying a little bit, maybe a 1/16 of an inch in from that line. So I want the circle to be as big as possible, but again, I don't want it to ravel. It's not like something that's going to go in the wash machine. Right, get it about halfway and then pull it through. I'm going to go ahead and let it start gathering. I want to create a little cup with this piece of fabric. Just keep on gathering. I was doing tiny little stitches, and that was just taking a really long time, but I found it looked just the same if I just sort of did maybe between a quarter and a half inch. I don't want it to be too big. And here on the end, I am going to make that one a little bit smaller because I want it to come to the inside, and I'll show you why. So try not to get a knot. This is the beginning of my thread, so it's kind of long. Make sure I don't have a knot here. Pull it and make that little cup. And then I have just some regular old Fiberfill over here. I'm going to take just a pinch out. I don't need even that much. I need maybe that much. And so then I create a little ball, right? So I can get it in there. I want to make sure my string is on the outside, on the other side of that first knot I made. I'm going to stuff this in here. See, even that little tiny bit's going to really fill it up. All right. And then I'm going to start pulling it. As I pull it, I'm going to just tuck that stuffing in there. I get to the end, I'm going to pinch it with my fingers to try to keep it from undoing itself. Get my needle, and I'm going to just start creating just a couple, well, maybe like 3 or 4. I'm just creating that, and then I'm going to go the other direction also. Push it down. And then I'm going to do a knot, and then I'm going to go around twice, and that locks it into place. And then I can cut it pretty close, because once you start sewing those together, you can see it if you don't cut it close enough. Get rid of that extra. And there it is. So here is our little piece. So I've got some white ones.
that I was working on, right? Because I like to do it all in like assembly line kind of thing. So I started one red one, and then I was like, oh, I'm tired, I had to stop. All right, so that's where we're at, and then once we get several, we'll sew them together, and then once we get several of these, then we'll create the bows, and then put the hangers on them. All right, shoo, we have a lot to do, y'all. Let me get to cutting and sewing and making, and this is going to be a fun one. Last one. Woohoo! This has been a big project. But it will make children happy at the end of the year. Okay, so we have our piles. I'm using my just regular sewing machine thread, nothing fancy. I do put a simple little knot at the end because then I catch it with my needle, right? So just make a little knot, just a simple through and through, and then take my circle. Pretty small little stitch there, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it, and then see that little knot? I'm going to put my needle through it, tighten it, and there's what I'll end up making the final knot with. So now these around can be a good size. Doesn't seem to really, I mean, I wouldn't want to like put 3 stitches around there or something, but a good size gather doesn't seem to affect the end product. Get it about halfway, pull it through. Make sure my string, there we are. Here, over here on the end, I do want to get it kind of close, something like that. I'll show you when I pull the thread through. I'm using slightly off white, not pure white, but I've got it pretty close over there at the very end. That way when I make the knot, it'll cinch up nicely. I'm using just regular polyfill, just a little bit actually. And I try to make it into like a little circle, put it in the center, and then pull my thread that I've been pulling through, not the first one, but here on the back side, where I ended at. I get it to about there, then I'm going to pinch it, and then I want to just give it a couple stitches to hold in place. I found my knots tended to hold better if I just sink that in just a little bit. I want my thread to be not in there. And now I'm going to do like wrap it around twice, right? Pull it, put one on top, one more, just for good measure. Now I'm going to cut that pretty close. And then I take my thumb, my forefinger, and I just sort of moosh it around. right, so 1, 2, 3. Not quite. We need 5. So we can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9. Okay. So I need to work on some green. So that's why I did that. So I'm going to go ahead and divide these up and then divide them into our piles so I can see where I'm at. Obviously I have disproportionate, like I'm lacking in green, but I can fix that. Might. All right, it's time to assemble some wreaths. All right, so let's get us a couple needles threaded. And we will use a double, and this is a pretty sturdy thread. So, but I'm still gonna 2-ply it, right? So there's one, and we'll do the other. I like to do things assembly line, so that's part of it, having your everything ready to go. After this, we'll work on making some bows, and then adding the bows and the hangers. Okay, there we go. Another stitch over it. And now we want to connect the 2 ends. See a little string there. And then we'll connect it. Should have made that tighter, so before I connect it, I'm just going to come down maybe to that one. Try to go up through there. Pull it through. So I want this to be a little bit tighter. Alrighty, whew, this was a project. So I've created a little loop. I've made little, just really rustic little bows. I'm going to hot glue them on there. It just got way bulky with the base and everything. So I've got the glue gun heating up. I had these little strips. They were left over from a Santa beer that I did some time ago. So basically, to get the hanger, I just took 2 of the links so I could create a little hanger on them. Just took them, made a simple little knot as close to the end as possible, but yet left enough to keep it together. Pull it pretty tight. And so there's just a little knot. And I find where I want to put it, put the hanger, maybe right in here. And I opened this up. So I'm just going to slip it through and then just make a simple knot again. Some of my hangers, I add that extra knot there by the ornament itself. I'm not doing that with these. They don't like to slide, and I don't really want to break it. My fingers are so sore from sewing. So get it as far as I can, and then I'm just going to sort of pull it again, keep it, try to get it tight, and so there we go. And then we just rough up the edges, bring it down, and then again we're just going to create a very simple little knot here at the end. I'll work that knot all the way up. So I want to give myself, and the loop is crooked, so if that happens, try to notice that before we make this tight. And we'll do it again. Alright, so I see that there, not worried about that. So again, we're going to take this and we're going to make a little simple knot here at the end. There we go, simple knot. I'm going to cut it where it's even. There we go, very rustic little bow. And then I'm thinking I'm going to like literally glue that together. And here is how I created just this little rustic bow. So basically, I want my tie, and then I'm just creating loops. There. And again, I'm going to create, I am doing an overlap there, and I'm putting that overlap face forward, because what will be underneath will be the front of the bow. So now I'm just going to, again, do a simple little tie. And then pull this down and flip our bow, and then we are just going to hot glue it, and then once we get it on all the way, then we're going to trim those tails. I had all kinds of ideas, like to use this cording, right? It got lost in all the colors, couldn't really even see it. I started with the thin, definitely couldn't see it, even the thicker. I even tried some cording, just it got lost. Just didn't look very good. I tried using all kinds of pre-made bows, and again with the colors it just got lost, so that's why I went with this. It's just kind of a fun way to finish off this little ornament. Alright, so let's make another bow. Our glue gun is warm. Mm. Alright, there we go. How about that? Alright, this is for our little Emmanuel tree and all the gifts that we give out through church and our community during the holiday season. So we've made some crocheted hearts and we've made this. So we'll see what other ideas we can come up with, but this is what we have so far. Well, here are our wreaths. I think they turned out super cute. We'll just let them set up and then I'll be able to package them up, get them ready for the fall when we start creating those packages. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, like it, share it with your friends. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, would you please consider subscribing? And well, until next time, happy crafting!